Welcome. I'm Bill Haney. Our guest for today's conversation has long been one of the senior football coaches in the state of Michigan, Steve Himberg. Steve has been recognized recently by his fellow coaches and by educators throughout the state, and certainly by football fans in the Clarkston area, as simply one of the finest coaches ever. And that's not just my opinion. On Saturday, March 7th, recently, his stature was confirmed as Steve was inducted into Michigan High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame. We'll talk with Steve about that ceremony a bit and his recent honor. But first, let me tell you a bit about Steve. Steve has been in coaching for 46 years, starting in 1971 at Clarkston, but he had previously been at Fraser High School in 1967 through 69. Then Steve suffered a spinal cord injury in 74 and resumed his coaching at Clarkston in the next few years until 1981. After that, Steve, you moved to San Diego, am I right? Yeah. And in San Diego, he was educated at San Diego State. You got your MA degree, is that correct?
I did, yes.
And learning disabilities.
Right.
And he became, he was a youth football coach from 81 to 83.
In San Diego, right?
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, it was my wife encouraged me to get involved, and my son was starting to play football, and I thought it was just a natural transition. I loved the game and got to know the coaches, and they gave me a chance to coach a little bit.
Now, but coaching was kind of in the family blood, wasn't it?
My mom's side of the family, all her three brothers were all college football players.
Really?
U of M, Miami of Ohio, Michigan State.
Yeah.
In fact, my Uncle Harry ended up with the Lions for a couple of years.
Wow. So that really was natural. You played ball.
Yes, I played high school, grade school and high school football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What position did you play in?
For the most part, I was an offensive guard, played a little bit of a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great experience, really enjoyed.
And then you became a special ed teacher, didn't you, in Clarkston?
Yes. Before my MA, I taught mostly business subjects and math.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I got my master's in learning disabilities, I was a special ed teacher.
Mm-hmm. And your head coaching role, this was, you were grooming these players at a critical time when they were in junior high, was it?
Well, originally when they were freshmen.
Yeah.
And then JV, I was a head JV coach also. But 25 years ago, Kurt Richardson decided we should have a 8th grade football program. And I thought it was a great opportunity because I thought it was important for a coach to be in the building where his players were.
Right.
And I was in the junior high then, so it was perfect.
I saw some photographs, and some of those will show throughout the program, of your players. I remember one particularly where you were getting doused by one of these great big barrels of water at the end of a game.
Right.
That must have been quite an experience.
It was, because it was cold. It was the last game of the season, and it capped off an undefeated season. So all the fellows thought it would be appropriate to celebrate a little bit at my expense, which was fine.
Was it water or Gatorade?
It was water.
Yeah, that's
with
bad.
ice.
Yeah, but that got your attention. Huh?
Yes, it did. Yeah. It was fun. It was good.
Now, that team was undefeated.
Yes.
And so a number of those players were ones that went on to successful high school careers.
Yes. I've had the advantage to be able to follow these fellows through their high school situations and be with them on the field. on their game day on Friday nights, and I keep in contact with many of them. You know, years after they're done playing.
I know a lot of your players have said that as much as they learned from you about football skills, some of them felt that even more valuable in later life were the other lessons that they learned, just about how to behave and how to treat people, and also that you emphasized education.
Academics, well, actually football is just an extension of the classroom. The curriculum's a little bit different, but the values that coaches teach in football are not just about the skills, and about the win-loss, which is fun, is important. But what are the lessons you can take beyond the football field, beyond the season, and when you're done playing? There's a lot of things that you can learn that are going to apply to your life in the future.
That applicable to the rest of your life.
That's right.
And you've had, well, this goes way back then, so many of these players went on to high school and went to college. They went into roles in their communities. And you've kept in touch with some of them over the decades?
Quite as many as I can. A number of them have come back and coached with me, which is really a lot of fun. And last season we had 3 or 4 of the coaches were previous players.
That's really something.
That's nice, yeah.
Wow. So your last coaching was in 2017?
Last year I coached?
Yeah.
Was last fall.
Oh, last fall. You
right.
continued on.
And I still am. So I'll be
it's in
looking
your
forward to
blood.
next year. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great way to stay connected and still be part of Clarkson Junior High.
Yeah. Well, you had an injury that put a halt for a time to your activity, but then I understand that not only did you get acclimated to an entirely new situation in the wheelchair, but you've been in, am I right, 33 marathons, wheelchair marathons?
Yes, I got involved, in fact, when I lived in San Diego with disabled athletes. And I was introduced to wheelchair racing, long distance wheelchair racing, and I did it for 21 years and was able to travel all over, you know, mostly participating in marathons.
You did Boston, I guess, many times, huh?
I had a chance to do Boston 9 times.
Wow.
In Detroit, 20 consecutive times. So
That is something. Yeah. When was your first Detroit one? Do you remember?
I think it was 1982. I flew back from San Diego to do it a couple times.
Wow. I might have missed you by a year. I think I did 81, but I'm not certain of that.
Right.
But yeah, that's quite an experience to go over to Canada and do a little bit over there. And then did you do the tunnel or was it the bridge?
I've done just the tunnel. I've done the tunnel and the bridge.
And the bridge.
Both.
Yeah. And finish at Belle Isle. And the problem with Belle Isle, as you probably remember, is the first time you do it, you come over the bridge, and you come to the island, and you see where the finish line is, but now you still got to run the entire perimeter of the island to get to the finish line.
Right.
That's a bummer.
It is. And the island, it's always windy. It's always
It always is.
It's always a little bit of an extra challenge.
Yeah, it is. But it's a great experience, and as you know, you might do the marathon alone in some respects, but you're actually carrying along a lot of other people's wishes and hopes with you when you do it.
Oh yeah, there's certainly a feeling of accomplishment and so on, but all the support that's there, you know, and my wife's been at the finish of every one of them.
Yeah,
that makes a big difference.
But in my experience with it, which is far limited compared to yours, but is that you do the 26 miles so you can do that 385 yards. I mean, the 26 miles is the grueling part, but you get used to it, but then you get that last quarter of a mile or so, which is usually down a finish area, a route with a lot of people cheering you on.
Yeah, especially the Boston Marathon. It's a holiday there. It's Patriots Day.
It's marvelous.
There's millions of people out there, and they're all cheering for everybody.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a great experience, and that's the same kind of a rush that you get with your at your various games. As a former athlete, a player yourself, there's nothing quite like coming off that field at the end of a game, especially if you win. But then I've never had experience that you have with coaching, so I can imagine it's a different sort of a thing.
It is, it's because in a team sport like football, which especially football, maybe you win a big game and it's tough and it's grueling, and you share that with all the other fellas.
Yeah.
You have that thing in common, so you tell them that 10, 20 years from now, you guys are still going to be talking about that big game.
Yes.
Or that particular practice, or that experience that you've had with each other.
Yeah. I can tell you, I'll give you some evidence for that, and that is that we recently did a reunion for the 65th anniversary for the Troy class of 1954. And we had 40 or so people there, and the memories are still so vivid about the big game with Roseville when Fred Bernard kicked the field goal and we beat them 15-13. And so how much do you remember about these games that you how many do you know how many there were? There had to be hundreds.
How many games?
Yeah.
Oh, I just filled out a stat form about that. I don't know. There was over a couple hundred.
Would have to be, yeah. Well, the high school, the grade school and junior highs don't play as many, I don't think.
No,
they
play seven.
Seven
we
games.
played 7. When I was the freshman coach, we played 9. JV coach would play 9. Mm-hmm. But
so that's got to be 200 to 300. That's a lot of games. But are there memorable ones that really stand out?
Yeah, there was a few, and mostly seasons and players, but it wasn't always about winning. There was a lot of great experiences that, in retrospect, and maybe we didn't come out on top that day, but we learned a lot.
Well, those are crucial lessons.
And you develop such good friendships.
Yeah.
I mean, the friendships of the fellows that I played in high school with, we still get together as much as possible. And share those memories.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to a small school in Detroit, St. Ambrose.
Oh, that's right. I remember now.
I was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time.
That was something.
And it was
what a tradition, the St. Ambrose teams.
I was fortunate to be on 2 undefeated back-to-back state championship teams.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Great coaches. So.
Yeah. Yeah, those nights, those Friday nights. Well, I don't know. Did you play? You didn't play yours on Friday. The high school did.
A couple of Friday night games, but in the Catholic League, they would play on Sundays, Sunday afternoons usually.
Yeah.
But there were some Friday night, Saturday night games.
Quite a tradition.
Oh.
Yeah. When you made a decision from high school to go to college, what did you look at, and where did you decide to go?
Well, I grew up as a young kid in East Lansing, and I went to up to 3rd grade in East Lansing. So I had this connection with Michigan State.
Sure.
And my oldest uncle was captain of the Michigan State team back in the late 30s, and so there was that connection too.
Wow.
So when it came time to graduate from high school. That was the ultimate goal, to get to Michigan State.
Now, was it Perlis that you had a connection with?
Well,
George
Coach,
Perlis?
Yeah, Coach Perlis was my high school coach.
Oh.
And he wasn't there at St. Andrews for very many years. He moved on to the college ranks pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. He went coached at Dayton, and then he got back to Michigan State, and then on to the Steelers and so on. Mm-hmm. So
now, what would you say that the differences between when you started and where we are now. I mean, it seems to me that the coaching and the equipment is far, far superior to what it was 30 and 40 years ago.
It is, but you know, I don't remember serious injuries like we have today.
Yeah.
The kids today are bigger, they're faster, stronger, and that impact is, it makes a difference.
Yeah. Now, is that something you're concerned about, or especially the brain injuries from the?
They have made good rule changes in high school football to limit and reduce the amount of injuries and the amount of contact you can have. In the old days, you could just have contact as much as you want during the week. Now you're limited to outside of game day when the season starts. Heavy duty full contact 30 minutes
I didn't know
a
that.
week.
Wow, that's good.
It is, and it challenges you as a coach to come up with different ways to get your job done. You know, you don't have to rely on the old, let's just scrimmage.
It seems like speed and agility are more important now. When I played, it was that you wanted to have some big behemoths in the line, and those guys are banging each other every play, and so the repetitive head injuries, the hitting, you think would have taken its toll on those people. So that now, if you're limited to this, then apparently that will hopefully help.
All right. I remember back when, maybe you do too, when you didn't wear a face mask.
Yeah.
And you weren't going to put your face,
Right.
Now some of these kids feel like they're so well protected, they can take chances.
Well, but speaking of face masks, I can tell you I had to wear one because I wore glasses, and there was no face masking rule then.
Right.
And so I would get taken down by the face mask.
Sure, it's a handle.
I was a quarterback, and I'd hand the ball off, but somebody would grab the face mask and pull me down. And so that's not good for your neck either over a period of time. But so there have been a lot of rule changes, but then for a while the equipment got so good that people would careen around and take some really heavy blows.
Right, and they started to use their head almost as a weapon.
Yeah.
And they thought they could do more damage to an opposing runner if you tackle. And hopefully that doesn't happen.
What do you think about possibilities of some people talk about eliminating American football?
Well, obviously I'm not in favor of that. I'm in favor of making it as safe as possible, because the value of the game, is people watch the game, they see the big hits and the great scores and the catches and so on, but that's not the real value of the game in high school. It's what you learn, and it's who you learn it with, your teammates. And I would hate to see that lost.
Yeah. Well, you have certainly lived that and practiced that throughout your coaching career, that your players would keep it in perspective, because the outpouring of respect and affection that you got from your players over the years, I've heard about it many times, that kids that played for you, that it was one of the most enriching experiences of their life was playing under your tutelage.
Well, it's mutual.
Yeah.
The coach gets a tremendous amount from coaching young kids. When you see them grow up and see them become successful people.
Yeah. So you're going to keep your hand in for as long as you can, huh?
Yep. I have no intentions of not coaching right now.
Good for you. Well,
it's hard to get coaches.
It's what?
It's hard to get coaches.
Yeah.
There is there's few people that are willing to dedicate that much time to the sport.
It's a commitment,
It's a huge commitment.
and it has to be a priority in your life to do it right. It would seem to me that you can't be casual about it. And obviously, with your track record, was it 40? Are we at 46 years now, or something?
No, it's actually it'll be 39 years.
Only
It's
39.
30. It'll be 36 in Clarkston, and 39 altogether.
That's incredible.
So
That's a lot of decades to check off.
I know,
Check off
but
and
it goes
go
by fast.
Yeah.
And you got to take it. You got to enjoy it.
Well, I'm delighted that your contributions have been recognized. It's a real honor to be inducted into the Michigan State High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame. And Steve Himberg was given that great and much deserved honor recently in Lansing, wasn't it?
It was in Lansing.
In Lansing. It was a good ceremony.
It was really nice. They do a wonderful job. There were 14 of us coaches inducted.
Wow.
There must have been 400 or more people there.
Wonderful.
Well, family, coaches, all the people that have supported you, throughout your career.
Wow.
It was very nice.
Well, my congratulations and my thanks to
Oh,
you for sitting in for another conversation with Bill. And we will be back with another interesting guest. But until then, thanks very much for joining us in this conversation today.